Today's video is brought to you by Displate. Displates are these really cool metal posters that are super easy to mount. They look fantastic and have more than 2 million artworks in their catalog, including officially licensed designs from things like Marvel, The Witcher, Star Wars, Dungeons & Dragons, and you guessed it, Middle-earth. Stick around to the end of the video for an exclusive discount code for my viewers. It was the most precious metal in all Middle-earth. Beautiful, strong, and undimmed by the decay of time. And by the Third Age, we find that most of this metal is possessed by the Dark Lord himself. But why did he want it? And what terrible use would he put it to? Today on Nerd of the Rings, we discuss why Sauron coveted Mithril. The wealth of Moria was not in gold and jewels, the toys of the dwarves, nor in iron, their servant. Instead, it was true silver, Mithril. Mithril was certainly a rare metal. As Gandalf declares Bilbo's Mithril coat more valuable than all the land of the Shire. In the First Age, we find Mithril in Eärendil's ship, Vingilote. In the Second and Third Ages, we find the heirloom, the Star of Eärendil, the helmets of the guards of the Citadel in Minas Tirith, and it is even used by Arwen to embroider the banner she makes for Aragorn. But these were far from the only items made of Mithril. We are told that elves dearly loved it and would have many uses for it, most notably Ithildin, the substance on the doors of Durin, making the runes reflect starlight and moonlight, as well as using it in the creation of Nenya, Galadriel's Ring of Power. But what became of the various other items made of Mithril? And what about any supply that may have been mined from Khazad-dûm? As the Fellowship passes through Moria, Gandalf reveals the mysterious and disturbing fate of most of the world's Mithril. The dwarves tell no tale, but even as Mithril was the foundation of their wealth, so also it was their destruction. They delved too greedily and too deep, and disturbed that from which they fled, Durin's bane. Of what they brought to light, the orcs have gathered nearly all, and given it in tribute to Sauron, who covets it. Surely Mithril's unique qualities are desirable for anyone. It could be beaten like copper, and polished like glass, and the dwarves could make of it a metal, light and yet harder than tempered steel. Its beauty was like to that of common silver, but the beauty of Mithril did not tarnish or grow dim. Gandalf indeed tells us that all folk desired it. Clearly Sauron was no exception. Another item, or rather items, that Sauron was known to covet was the 3 elven rings of power. They were made without his involvement, and had attributes the other rings did not. Clearly, Sauron was prone to coveting that which held unique power, and especially those things not already under his direct control. For example, while he would give out rings of power to the dwarves, he would begin recollecting them after they did not enslave the dwarves as intended. Likewise, he would have his orcs bring him plunder of Mithril. But what did Sauron wish to do with all this Mithril? Surely there's an appeal to having armor or mail forged of this metal, harder than tempered steel. Interestingly, there was a time when Tolkien considered another being of the same order as Sauron donning such protection. In the History of Middle-earth volume, The Treason of Isengard, we find an outline Tolkien once made where he maps out the story of the Fellowship in Moria. His notes say, Gandalf's story overcame Balrog. The gulf was not deep, only a kind of moat, and was full of silent water. He followed the channel and got down into the deeps, clad himself in Mithril mail, and fought his way out, slaying many trolls. The idea that Sauron would want to clad himself in Mithril armor would make sense. After all, his defeat in the War of the Last Alliance was one of the body, for Elendil and Gil-galad threw down Sauron in their final moments, enabling Isildur to cut the ring from his hand. Could Sauron, who by the later Third Age has regained his physical form, wish to craft for himself great new armor, which could withstand the mightiest of attacks? As we see in the Fourth Age, when the dwarves help rebuild the Gate of Minas Tirith, Mithril can also be used in fortifying defenses of a stronghold or city. Though admittedly, by the late Third Age, the chance of any army of free peoples daring to attack any fortress of Mordor is essentially non-existent. Another possibility is simply that Sauron coveted the precious metal for its value and properties. Given its rarity, Sauron could have simply been hoarding it, keeping those things most precious in the vaults of Barad-dûr. Or could just a small amount of Mithril have paid for the allegiance of those who served him? Lords from lands in the east and south who had pledged their forces to wage war on behalf of the Dark Lord. However, there is one more clue Tolkien may have given us. In another passage of the Treason of Isengard, we get an alternate version of Gandalf speaking of Mithril. The dwarves carried much away, and though the dread of its dark mazes has protected Moria from men and elves, it has not defended it from goblins, who have often invaded it and plundered it. Mithril is now nearly all lost. Orcs plunder it and pay tribute to Sauron, who is collecting it. We don't know why, for some secret purpose of his weapons, not for beauty. Here we find that perhaps it was weapons for which Sauron wished to use his Mithril. Personally, I've heard such theories as the weapons of the Nazgul being forged of Mithril, or perhaps the great battering ram Grond. Of Grond, we are told, long had it been forging in the dark smithies of Mordor, and its hideous head, founded of black steel, was shaped in the likeness of a ravening wolf. While some may believe such a device could also have Mithril components, I tend to believe that its head would have been the most logical portion to be made of Mithril, but here we find it is black steel. Still, I think the most likely answer is not a simple one, and it's honestly one we cannot know the full extent of. We must remember that in his earliest days, and in his greatest achievements, Sauron is a smith, described as second only to Aule himself. It is with Sauron's guidance that the elves of Eregion are able to make the Rings of Power, and Sauron himself would create the greatest of them all. What dark and evil things could Sauron accomplish with a stockpile of Mithril? Perhaps he would find value in defensive measures such as armor or fortress reinforcement, or through long years of toil, putting forth his unparalleled skill in the arts of smithing, he would develop hitherto unseen weapons, both practical and magical, that would wreak havoc upon the battlefields of Middle-earth, or ensnare the minds of men, or bring the very world to its knees. Whatever Sauron wanted with Mithril, we can be certain it would not be to the advantage of the free peoples of Middle-earth. And while we don't have a definitive answer when it comes to exactly what Sauron was doing or wanted to do with Mithril, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think Sauron was up to. What items do you think he would seek to forge out of this most incredible of metals? While we may not know what Sauron did with his precious metal, we know what you can do with yours. Hang it on your wall. And with displates, that process is incredibly easy. Each displate comes with a magnet kit, so not only can you hang your poster in seconds, you can easily swap them out if you want to change things up. No need whatsoever for power tools or those dreaded wall anchors. The hardest part will be deciding which ones to order. Displates are printed in the European Union and have fast delivery, typically arriving within 4 to 5 business days. Use the discount link in the description or use my code NOTR to get 25% off when you buy one displate, or if you buy 2 or more, you'll get 35% off. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. Tom DeBombadil 19, Listen Me the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, CCDC Red Team, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.